So, let's clarify something. So, the guy that built that is Ed. His name is Ed Pryor, and he's not Ed the Fry Guy. Ed the Fry Guy is over just up the road from me in Cicero, and Eddie Pryor lives just south of Utica, and he's got the same call letters as I do, which was unintentional. He is W2XAM. And I've known Ed for probably, I don't know, 20 or 30 years, but I hadn't seen him for most of those years. I had sold a transmitter to him, gosh, I think back in around 2000, something like that, and so forth. So I had sold him a BC1G, so I've known him for quite a few years. We just lost track of each other. Of course, I wasn't really part of the ham radio community. So we have a portion of the building that Jamie and I refer to as the dungeon, and there's all kinds of really old stuff out there, but the roof is caving in portions of it and so forth, and it's not really a used area, but Ed'll come over the summer 2 or 3 times and look around and go picking. And so I believe that the value of those capacitors was something like 1,000 puff is what I think. And I think that coil probably came out of our collection as well. And so all of that stuff was probably used in a phaser cabinet for more than likely a 50,000 watt AM is my guess. And there's still a few more of those pieces around, and there's another guy that would like to have at least one of those capacitors and build a similar tuner. And I don't know what, quite honestly, what Ed is going to end up doing with that, because at this point, he's just running a DIY rig like I am, although he is working on building another transmitter out of parts of our older AM solid-state transmitters. He's been, working on trying to get something going, something that is legal limit and so forth, and maybe a little more durable than the DIY rig. I know he's not overly thrilled with the DIY rig, which is disappointing to me because I really like them a lot, to the point where I've got 3 of them and have told him when the time comes, if he wants to, I would end up buying his DIY rig, even though the thing is only probably, I think, 6 months old. Anyway, so there's the story on that big antenna tuner and the parts and pieces and so forth. So now that I've buzzed on for about 45 minutes with all of that, I'm going to send it down to Paul. I don't remember the beginning, but I remember the VJB part of Paul down in Maryland. Good morning to you, and good hearing you in here.
Yeah, this is my inaugural return to 75 or 80 meters for the 2023 season. K2XAM with KC2CKO. Hello to the other Paul from Whiskey Alpha 3, Victor Juliet Bravo. Good to hear both you guys in here this morning. Sounding good, actually. Yeah, I too am saddened that Ed's not enthusiastic about his super senior. Being a loyal fan of the thing myself, I don't know what his concerns would be. Apparently it's just not to his liking somehow or the other. It's a boring radio. I mean, the transmitter itself is boring. No tubes to glow, no meters to look at. So if that's the problem, I get it. But as far as reliability, sound quality, and power level are concerned, it's a winner, as you and I have discussed. The Dungeon. I wonder if that's a version of what used to be at Cedarvale Road when Armstrong was up there. I had visited that dungeon. There was some really good stuff that they had squirreled away. And Sanan even gave me an old Holocrafters box that an S40 came in. Holocrafters, the Radio Man's radio. It's emblazoned on the side. And that was at the old location. I haven't seen the new one, but the dungeon was very reminiscent of some of the stuff we picked over there. Yeah, I was on here earlier today. I woke up to a QSO underway that I was listening to on a smartphone. Guy down in Georgia, W4AX Mac, has put on the air a BC1 Tango. And he was adjusting a CBS Volume Max Audimax to get the best compression and sound quality out of it. He had it dialed in just about right. It sounded good. And it was nice to hear him on the air. I had not worked him before. You know, usually you cross paths with somebody who's got an interest in this part of the hobby, but he was a new one. So I came out here and fired up and made sure the antenna was still up in the air and working. And that was up on 3885, so I signed with him as the sun came up higher in the sky because we start to lose a path. And I said, I'm going to dial down and listen to the Kevin and Jamie show. And although Jamie appears to be missing this morning, it's nice to hear you on, Paul, and I'll say good morning to you as long as we've got a path here. KC2CKO and the group WA3VJB. How you been?
WA3VJB, KC2CKO back. Well, good morning, Paul. Another nice day here. And see what else is going. Nothing else going on. I'm just have to get probably ready pretty soon here to head out and go do that inspection job and come home, bang out a report, and then the wife and I have spent some more time together today here. So take a cruise in the old MG here, so which would be nice. And it's already 7:19, so I better get going here. But I got to be out here tomorrow morning by 7 o'clock too. We're heading down to a religious convention down in Newburgh, New York. So we're kind of looking forward to that. So and we've got some friends that are riding with us. So. And at that 73's KC2CKO. I'll listen out for a while. Over.
All right, Paul. And so just to let you know, the antenna tuner that I'm using, Eddie Pryor also ended up building, and it's not as pretty as the one that he brought to the Hamfest, but it's a big link coupled tuner with a couple of Comet vacuum variable capacitors. Not as big as the ones, none of it's as big. It's probably, I'm guessing, a quarter of the size of that tuner that was that he had at the Hamfest last weekend. And it's just, you know, it's not as pretty, but it's very functional, and I'm able to, at least on 80 and 160, get tuned up so that I have zero reflected power, which is something that the DIY rig really needs. It really likes no reflected power. So it works very well on 160 and 80. It's supposed to do 40 as well, but I've never been patient enough to learn to learn where to set the taps and stuff to get on 40. I've monkeyed around with it for a couple of hours and just don't have the patience, which I don't have any patience anyway with a lot of this stuff. It is what it is. But he had built this tuner and sent me photos of it a couple of years ago, and then it ended up becoming for sale, which kind of blew my mind that he was selling it. And he carried it around to 2 or 3 Hamfests, and I finally ended up making a deal with him and ended up bringing it home. He does some really nice work. There's no question about that. No question about that. And Paul, it's funny you mentioned that a guy has the BC1T down in Georgia. I have for sale right now on QRZ and eBay a BC500T. It could very easily be converted into a BC1T by adding a tube, which I have, you know, all of that, and a a slightly bigger modulation reactor, which I also have, and have made mention of that in the ad that's on eBay. And I'm really hoping that that BC500T will disappear, only because Sinan has asked me to thin out the herd of my collection that's at the shop. And so last month, a BC1H disappeared, and a couple of weeks ago, a weather transmitter disappeared that I had, and now a BC1T or BC500T, in my case, needs to disappear. And once that disappears, that will leave me with a BC1G and a CCA AM1000D. Both work, and lots of times I bring those into the shop area. They're out in the warehouse, all on pallets, so I just move them in with a pallet jack, bring them in, and a lot of times I'll end up hooking those up with an Audimax and Volumax. Of course, I've got more processing than anybody should ever have in any lifetime. Of recent times, I've been using the Audimax and Volumax, and also the General Radio modulation monitor, which then feeds a Heathkit W4 amplifier, so I can listen to what's going on. And all of that sounds really nice, and I just play music off of an iPod, feeding into the Audimax and Volumax and so forth. I have a heavy case of I don't have a life, so I do stuff like that on weekends and so forth. And it's getting chilly enough up here that I'm thinking about rigging up a Collins mic preamp and or program amp. I think I can get away with using one or the other, and some Collins equipment. Well, one of them's a Metron, but it's the same as the Collins 26J, and I may end up rigging that stuff up and using it here in the mornings now that it's getting cooler, and I can get away with running vacuum tube gear. In fact, the vacuum tube gear can contribute to the heating of the living room, because, as you mentioned, the DIY rig doesn't glow in the dark and it doesn't generate much heat. So anyway, I've got time for maybe one more. I've got to start packing up about 7:30, so I see it's 7:25 right now. So I'll toss it in your direction, and you can make some comments and so forth, and then maybe send it back to me, and then that'll be kind of my final. But good morning to you. Good hearing you in here. WA3 VJB. It's K2XAM. Not sure if there's a group.
Yeah, I think Paul left us there to start his day. I was going to ask him which model and year of his MG he's got, but I'll catch him the next time around. K2XAM. WA3 VJB for a final. Yeah, timing's good. I got to get going here as well, and the band is starting to go out on us. Yeah, the AM1000D is where I got my set of 7527A, the Amperex version of a 4400 that I use in my homebrew transmitter. We had one of those at WLMD, the first station I worked at when I got out of college, brand new. Well, pretty new. It was a 75, and I joined up in 79, so fairly new as far as that goes. Nice zero. And yeah, very good on liquidating some of the transmitters there. Hopefully they do find good homes. It takes a certain kind of operator these days to acquire, feed, retune, repair, restore, and put an old broadcast transmitter on the air. As you know, it takes a certain special nature to get into that kind of a rig. The kind of poundage and the kind of voltage and so on. Kind of expertise, too. I think most of them have found their way out of the radio station properties and into good homes, and some of them are now getting rehomed as people downsize and go to solid-state SDR rigs like the Anon and the Flex that also produce good AM. That was part of the reason that drove people to get a retired broadcast transmitter, was the good sound quality. but now that can be replicated by others. And there's the other logistic issues that accompany a broadcast transmitter that make them, I guess, less desirable these days. No, very good. Yeah, it's nice to hear you on as well, and wish you the best of luck there rehoming those rigs. You know, like I said, I tune down here in the mornings, at least listening to the Kevin and Jamie show as you guys get ready to get your day started. And to hear Paul in here and yourself was a treat as well. I'll look for you again. And nice to hear you. K2XAM, somebody else had zeroed. I don't know if that was you or maybe somebody else getting ready to check in, but I'll listen out here for sure. WA3VJB, Annapolis.
Good morning, Paul. KC2FXE.
Hey, John.
Good morning. Long time no talk. Anyway, go ahead there, Kevin, if you're in.
Right. Yeah, good morning, John. Good hearing you in here this morning. Doesn't sound like you're on the big rig at this point, but goodness gracious, you made it in here, so that's a good thing. Well, Paul, a lot of it is exactly what you're saying. I guess my eyes were bigger than my stomach, so to speak, when I ran around the state all during COVID. As a matter of fact, most of them ended up coming to me around COVID time. We're running rider trucks and running around the state and picking up these AM transmitters, all with the intention that Jamie and I would have time, which did not end up being the case, to end up getting them tuned up to, like 160 and 80. Of course, the CCA is such a great transmitter. I think you could probably do 160, 80, 40, and if you really got creative, probably 20. But we're not going to, there's no time, and Jamie has no time. Jamie's out sick this week, by the way. Jamie never really gets sick, or let me put it this way. Jamie gets sick fairly often, but continues to come to work. Jamie's had a chronic ear infection, and sometimes strep throat and so forth, on and off, since he started working for us, and he's always ended up coming in, but this past week, something escalated, and, he called in on Monday and said he wasn't coming in, and then we had another conversation on Wednesday. He was feeling kind of better, but still didn't wind up coming in, and so forth. And so he hasn't been in with us all week here in the morning. But anyways, Jamie and I had these big plans to convert all these transmitters, and I'm at the point where I really like the DIY rig. I'd love to have a BC1T or 1G sitting here in the living room, but my house just can't support it, I think, physically. And they do end up, as you're aware, taking up a little more space than maybe you had hoped to, that sort of thing. But they're a really fine transmitter, any of that stuff, and they can sound good. And, it is what it is. I'm at the point where I'm winding down, and am seriously thinking about retiring in another 2.5 years when I turn 62. So I'm taking that into consideration with what is at the shop and what will end up needing to go. And, in addition to that, at the shop is a that gets used fairly often is an RCA BA6 limiter, several Automaxes and Volumaxes, a Collins 26 U1 limiter, or a Collins 26 U2 limiter, a couple of Gates SA39 limiters, and I'm just sitting and and then there's the modulation monitor collection, which there's at least the general radio that's there, and then a Bell R, and I think there's a QEI that's either here in the house or over there at this point, along with a more modern Innovonics that I'll end up having to hang on to, because I'll probably go back into some form of contract engineering, at least, going out once a month once I end up retiring, that sort of thing. So I'm looking at all of that and going, well, I've got 2.5 to kind of disperse of some of this stuff, unless I want to be tripping over yet even more stuff than I am here at home. So part of that is what's going on. I'm hoping that I can thin out the herd, so to speak, before I end up getting to the retirement point, if retirement ever happens. But I want to certainly have the possibility of being able to retire. It may end up being one of those things where we go to working, 2 or 3 days a week, and just to keep my hand in it and to keep from getting bored, that sort of thing. Anyway, 7:33 right now. I really do need to pack up and roll on out. So good hearing you in here this morning, Paul, and also John. And I'll more than likely try to get back in here tomorrow morning around 7, if either of you is around. If nobody comes back to me after I call out CQ 2 or 3 times, I'll just pack up and head on out to my usual Saturday morning grocery shopping trip. So on over to John real quick, because I haven't gotten to hear from him, but I'll be listening out. So, John, good morning. KC2FXE, K2XAM in the group.
Alrighty. KX2AM. KC2FXE. Good morning, guys. This morning, I just rolled over to get up and go to the potty, and I realized, oh, look at this light out. Look at that, 7:15. I'll stay up and I'll go out and get on the radio, see if anybody's there. Anyway, good deal. I guess you're starting to clear out the inventory. I guess your plans are, with all this stock that's piled up, now you got to turn around and clear it all out. But interesting. Yeah, if I had the room, I would have gone something like that myself. That's why I ended up building mine. I didn't have the room for such a thing. I thought of, I was looking at years ago. Years ago, I was tempted to get one of those Brewers 707, because that's about the size of the rack I got, the box I got right now. So that would have been fun to have that in here, but I ended up building my own, which I'm happy with. It does, 160 through 40 right now. I'm even tempted to get in there and put another link in it, so I could maybe make 20 with it. I guess the 813s would behave on 20 meters, I think. The little neutralization meters. I thought of doing that because the tuning circuit, the input circuit, is totally variable. I can go 160 through 10 meters with no problem, It's just a big variable, big cap, and it's one of those national grid circuits. That's what it is, a national. I think I'm using a national 40 for the input, so that's totally variable. That's infinite from one end to the other end, just like tuning. Anyway, you guys, it's nice to hear you in there, Paul. I hear you in there once in a while. I don't get to talk to you, but it's nice to catch up to you. And I woke up to a nice cool morning here, so looks like it's going to be another nice day. Well, I guess I'll go over and tinker with the hot rod again tomorrow. Today, I did yesterday. I went over and I'm still waiting to do interior work. I'm waiting for stuff, I put the seats in because I made new seat track adapters to go from the OBS bolt pattern to the new style bolt patterns. I got the seats are out of a 2006 2500. I got them seats in it, nice leather electric seats. They're really very comfortable. So I got them. I put them in to see how everything would fit, and then I just said, I'm going to give it a bath. So I started up, backed it out of the garage, out in the driveway, because he's got a big driveway there where I parked it. Put it out there so I could get the seats in, because I can't do it inside the door. You can't open the doors enough. So I did that. And then I decided to give it a bath. And wiped her down with some bubblies and rinsed her all off, and then wiped all the water off. And it looks good. I like it when it's nice and clean. This thing looks, that's a sharp looking truck. Anyway, I guess we're going to start. The wife is going to help me do some of the paperwork. It's confusing to get that thing back on the road, I'll tell you. Being an out-of-state vehicle, you know. I got it from a friend who bought it out of state. He dragged it into New York, and he didn't do nothing with it, and I got it off of him. But it's still got the out-of-state paperwork. Never been registered in New York, so I got to deal with that. I don't know. I took it for a little spin yesterday. I went down the end of the driveway. The driveway at my friend's house is about an eighth of a mile long, 600 feet. So I took it down the end of the driveway, turned around, come up, back up the driveway. Cruise nice and easy, just to get some feeling, get it, play with it a little bit. I just can't wait to get it on the road. Anyway, I guess you guys are taking off. I'm glad I caught you anyway for a couple minutes. Maybe I'll dial up on 85 and see if anybody's there. I thought Bear would be here too, but I guess I was with Bear last night till 11:30. And then he disappeared after I unkeyed after one transmission. I go, I guess he got tired of me talking about automotive stuff. He left. Anyway. All right, Kevin, Paul, nice talking to you again. KC2FXE Catskill. Good morning.
Yeah, very good there, John. KC2FXE Catskills. K2XAM having signed WA3VJB for a final. Yeah, very good on the automotive projects there. I've got two I've been babysitting. One of them is my grandfather's 1964 Buick Electromobile that he bought brand new in March of '64. I still have it. It was my first car. Talk about interior work. That was kind of tough finding the original pattern material. It had that cloth seat type of stuff that's hard to find, but I did, and got that redone along with the inside door panels, which are of the same material. And it's looking pretty good. Had it out, I guess a couple of weeks ago now. The R12 and the air conditioning's long gone, so it doesn't have air. It can't be too hot outside to be driving that around. But it runs very well. It's got the 401 now-head V8 in it. And very good on your almost getting a Bauer 707. Yeah, cool transmitter. V7KHZ. There are some pictures of another Paul who is using a garden hose to clean out a Bauer 707 that he'd acquired. It's a terrific picture because he's cleaning all the dirt and dust out of the bottom of it, where the mice all get. And he's filled it up with enough water that it's coming out of one of the conduit holes in the side of the cabinet. Just a classic picture. And that's my image of a Bauer 707. There was another version of that called a Sparta. It had some kind of corporate combination. Same transmitter. And it has a weird distinctive feature in it that one of the, I think it's an air variable, is mounted sideways. It's mounted at a 45-degree angle in the upper tank. It's odd looking when you open it up, but that's the only place it would fit. But yeah, those rigs can easily go through 20 meters. It's a lot like the 20V series transmitter. Those 4400 type tubes will really lend themselves well to going beyond 40 meters, like the triodes of the BC1, which are 833s, or even this Collins, the 810s. Lucky to get that up through 40 meters. And John, you should check us out on 40 during the day. The band is really well behaved. You're well within my propagation area, so we could get caught up there as well. This is, as I mentioned to Kevin, my season opener here for the 2023 winter radio season. When I heard a guy with a BC1 on 3885 out of Georgia this morning. I wanted to check in and say hello. Kevin, if you're still listening, quite a few good names mentioned there. The BA6A, the 26Us. I'd like to hear some of those on here if you get anything on at home. Warm up the house. I meant to mention that there, but you probably have gotten away by now. So John, take care. Sun's coming up. I see it coming in the window. And I see some long, slow fades on my signal on one of the SDRs I'm listening to you on. I don't know which rig this is. I don't think this is your home brew rig. Doesn't have the signal, doesn't have the audio. But still, 2.5 here at Annapolis, too. I just decided to swap over in case I were to lose path. Glad you checked in. Wish you'd checked in earlier, actually. We'll look for you again. KC2FXE. Good morning from Annapolis. WA3 BJB, listening out.
You're not fading here into LJO.
Hey, George.
Oh, George. Yeah, well, okay there, Paul. Yeah, now this is our little rice box 718, ICOM 718 that I'm using right now. So that's what we use to get on quickly. I could put that on, but it'd take a little while to, just like the big gate, it takes a little while to get finagled on the frequencies and stuff. Takes a little while to get it settled in, but of course right now that's on 38. I think we were on 85 last night. I think we were 85 or 75 last night. That's where it's sitting right now. So, all right, Paul, nice hooking up with you. Yep, yeah. This is just a little rice box. I did a little bit of work here. I got a little external ALC control, hold the ALC from flopping around, and I want to do some more work on it, but we'll get around. Yeah, as I get around to it, you know.
All right, Paul, 7-3.
Build up a cable and use the outboard, outboard audio. I'll come right off the audio board here and see how it works there, you know. Alrighty, good morning, George. How are you doing there this lovely day? W1, okay, yeah. It's too early. I know I'm KC2FXE. Over you, George.
Anybody hear this pile of trash?
Yeah, I would say hello, but you're gonna tell me I'm yellowy.
Yeah, you're still yellowy, but you're better than you were. At least I can understand you.
Oh, okay. I got the ALC. I got that ALC set up on it, so at least it'll keep the audio from jumping around, you know. Eventually, I'm gonna build up a little. I got to build up some cables and interface it into the soundboard here, so I can see how it runs with the Behringer and see how that pushes it.
Yeah, it should do a good job with it. You using an amplifier?
No,